Hey guys, Paul Reddick here. Since our last video about early developing players and unqualified coaches in the baseball development gap, I've gotten hundreds of emails. I stopped counting at around 340 emails. We got several hundred after that, well over 500 emails. Most of it was in total agreement with what we were saying. Some of the stories were heartbreaking, gut-wrenching, cringeworthy. Some of them very inspiring about parents who did see this gap coming and were able to maneuver their children out of it. There's some great stories about kids who got caught up in that and were able to come out on the other side and still enjoy and play the game of baseball. But in all those hundreds of emails, there was definitely a recurring theme in a good number of them where people were saying, Paul, I agree with everything you said, but you missed out on the part about parents. What about the overbearing parents that are kind of pushing their son in this direction and they just don't see it and don't get it? Well, obviously I didn't miss it. That was just one video, and today I want to talk about parents and the game of baseball. Now, before I start this, I've dealt with, there's kind of two parts of my career. There's the offline instructor part, and then there's the online, and they kind of overlap because I was doing both at the same time. I've dealt with thousands and thousands of parents, both digitally and virtually, and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands in person. And I will say, in all those years and meeting all those parents and interacting with all of them, I can remember a few people that I just thought were just bad people. A few. That I thought, this guy's got a value system that is just way out there and is not on par, and he's probably going to end up really doing something bad for his kid. 99.9% of the parents that I met were all good people. All had good intentions, and I believe all loved their children very, very dearly. Having said that, what I have noticed, despite good intentions, is not the best execution. So, I've seen parents get wrapped up in the tournament travel game. I see them get coerced into things, like we talked in the last video, by coaches who are promising things and preying on those parental emotions that people have, especially when their kid shows an ability in something. I get it. I totally get it. It's not the easiest thing to manage. There's probably no greater force of emotions in the world than a parent and the emotions tied between a parent and their child. So when your child shows an ability in something, you want to nurture that, and you can get excited about it. You can say, wow, my son has a gift, or my son has a talent, and I want to make sure that I do everything for him to express that talent. I just want to make sure that we do that in the right way and that we're looking at the bigger picture here. So I broke it up into 4 areas. Number 1, casting. Number 2, the time. Number 3, what's too much. And number 4, how children spell love. So first of all, let me talk about casting. Let's just start with the odds. There are 6.4 million kids playing Little League Baseball right now. There are about 90,000 playing college baseball. That's any college baseball, junior college all the way up to Division I. About 90,000 throughout the world. About 9,000 of those will play professional baseball, and about 1,000 of those will be on a major league roster. In the history of Major League Baseball, I think it's just about 23,000 players in the history of Major League Baseball were on the roster for one day. We're not talking about superstars, we're not talking about multi-million-dollar contracts, we're talking about just being on a roster. About 23,000 in one day. I live in a very small town. There's more people in my town than have put on a Major League uniform. It's about a 1 in 600 chance that your kid even steps on a college field. Let me put that into more reality. The NCAA restricts baseball to 11.7 scholarships. Why? I don't know. But so when you look at a Division I team on ESPN, the odds are that there isn't anyone with a full scholarship on that team. Now, vice versa, when you look at the Duke basketball team or the Alabama football team, you're seeing a lot of full scholarships. Write the NCAA. I don't know why. I don't know why these rules exist. They don't make sense, but they make sense to somebody, and it was the person who wrote them. So, the odds of your son making it onto a college team are 1 in 600. I don't know what the odds of there getting any kind of scholarship money in there. I don't know, but it's less. Make sure that you're casting your son in a role that he can play. Not everybody can be a superstar. Not everybody can play center field, shortstop, bat third or fourth, and be the number 1 pitcher. But everybody can be part of a team. Everyone can fit their role. And one of the things I think that we miss out on, and what causes a lot of conflict, especially between adults, grown people, is that when their son shows a little bit of ability early, they kind of get this idea, my son can be a star, and then they try and manufacture the stardom of their kid throughout the rest of their baseball career. Make sure you're putting your son in a role that he can play. Don't cast Tom Hanks in an action-adventure movie that should be played by Tom Cruise. There's nothing wrong with finding your place on a team. In fact, in my email this morning, I used a Navy SEAL quote that said, individuals play the game, but teams beat the odds. And teams are made up of a group of individuals that stop identifying themselves as individuals and identify themselves as a team, each of them bringing their unique ability. They're cast in the right roles. And when we watch teams, we just watched the Cubs win, we saw a lot of different roles. We saw guys who were closers, we saw guys who were starters, we saw guys who were flamethrowers, guys who were power hitters, single hitters, stealing base, defense. We saw all those roles. They were not all cast as the superstar. But there was a lot of guys on that team that got to shine because Joe Madden did a good job of casting, and Theo Epstein did a right job of casting the right players to play the role in this championship production. So make sure that you're casting your son in a role that he can play, and not in a role that just kind of you want him to be. Because Tom Hanks playing Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible, well, it kind of suck. Parenting and timing. This is where I think the main issue is we miss. I get it, the clock is ticking, right? You're a parent of this child for only a certain number of years. The clock is ticking. You have only a certain amount of time you feel to make this happen. I want to share with you a definition of parenting that I heard years and years ago. I don't remember where I heard it, but it's just been in my journal forever. I keep writing it in my new journals. Is the definition of parenting is to draw forth from. To draw forth from. So your job as a parent is not to cast them in the wrong roles or put them in the wrong position or to try and beat out the clock. Your job as a parent is to draw forth the skills, the abilities and the capabilities that are in your child in baseball or not. I am a Christian man. I believe that God put a unique ability in each and every person and that there is a plan for that unique ability. So you believe what you believe. I'm just telling you my beliefs. As a parent, I believe it is your obligation, your duty, your responsibility to draw forth those abilities and capabilities, those unique gifts that only your children have. And I believe everyone has a unique gift. That is it. If it happens to be in baseball, great. But baseball can be an amazing tool for you to use to draw forth those unique abilities. I'm going to tell you a story in another video about a kid that I coach that ended up getting a sports scholarship. And I'm going to tell you, it's a great story. If I gave this kid a bat, he couldn't hit this whiteboard. He couldn't hit anything. But he ended up getting a sports scholarship. Why? Because his parents drew forth his unique ability, cast him in the right role, put him in the right situation. It's an amazing story. I'll tell you in another video. It's too long for me to tell in this video. So, cast your son in the right role. Make sure you know what his capabilities and abilities are. Parenting, draw forth those unique abilities that they have. And let me preface here on these two things. God makes the major leaguers. There's just no two ways about it. Are there players that work harder and do better? Yes, but if you're seeing someone on that major league field, they are a genetic freak. And we can look at guys like Dustin Pedroia and Lincecum and say like, oh, but they're 5'7", 5'8". No, they're 5'7" genetic freaks. And that's really what you're seeing on the field. That doesn't mean that you should not work as hard as you can and strive as hard as you can. Yes, you should dedicate yourself and commit to being the best you can be in excellence in everything that you do. But understand that there is a God-given ability that resides in those players on the field. That there are a lot of 6'6", 250-pound people, but not everybody can do what LeBron James can do. Okay, Greg Maddux was my size, 5'10", 5'11", right-handed pitcher, whitest guy on the face of the earth, right? I can't do what Greg Maddux can do. I couldn't do what on my best day, I couldn't do what he could do on his worst day. There's just a genetic freakish ability, a God-given talent that major leaguers possess. Understand that, okay? So it's not something that can be manufactured, okay? So the second thing is, what's too much? I get this question all the time. When they say, Paul, I totally get what you're saying. I totally understand it. How do I know when it's too much? When your value balance gets out of whack. So here's what I tell parents. Why are you sending your son to sports? Cast them in the right role, draw forth their unique abilities. Why are you sending your son to sports? To learn the values of competition, to be a good sportsman, to win or lose with grace, to play as a team, right? To have a place to have physical education, for excellence, to commit to goals, right? So list out, everybody's got different reasons why their sons are in sports. Once you stop seeing those values, and you start seeing that the values of winning or over competing or artificial achievement baseball, once you see that value scale get out of balance, that's too much. It's probably too much before then, but you gotta watch, you gotta define, why am I doing this? Why am I putting my son into competitive sports? Is it so they can win a bunch of plastic trophies and win a bunch of tournaments and have a few adrenaline rushes during the season? Or is it to teach them values that are important to me as a parent and to our family as a whole? Watch the balance of those values, and that's how you know when it's too much. If you're saying to yourself, I just want my kid to be able to compete, to learn sportsmanship, to fair play, to have excellence, and now this is not about that, that's probably time to back off. I can't tell you what your values are. You have to define your values and why you go to sports and why you're putting your son in competitive situations. So, cast them in the right role. Draw forth their unique abilities. Value balancing. Number 4 is this. Kids do things for their parents' approval, appreciation, and love. We can say all of these things. Right? Well, actually, no, let me go back. No, I'm going to come back. But kids do things for value, appreciation, love. They want their parents to praise them, to give them attention, to give them love, to give them approval, to help build their self-esteem, to help instill positive values. They want trust and truth from their parents. Take this to the bank. Kids spell love. T-I-M-E. Kids spell love. T-I-M-E. They don't spell love baseball. They don't spell love tournaments. They don't spell love trophies. They don't spell love medals or rings now they give. They don't spell it taking trips. They spell it T-I-M-E. When your kid hits a homer, he's going to look at you. Every dad's like, oh, my kid hit a homer. He looked at me. When your kid misses a ball, he's going to look at you. When he sees something, maybe another coach or another player do something unsportsmanlike or off of your value system, he's going to look at you. I have found so many times that kids are using baseball as just a way to say, this is where me and dad spend time. And kids can't articulate that. We as parents have to articulate that. Kids spell love, T-I-M-E. Just be careful that you're not confusing your son's need for your approval, your attention, your trust, your truth, and your love with baseball. I've seen it happen. You don't want to be, if you go back and listen to the video I did about the 18-year-old kid who went to his dad, you don't want to be on the wrong side of history when it comes to raising your child. You don't want your child to do something for 10 years because it's the only way you two can be close together. And then finally it breaks. I always get asked the question, but my son loves baseball and he wants to do more and more baseball. I want to give him more opportunities to do more and more of what he loves. You are the parent. You are in charge. It is not up to the kid to decide. They are children. That's why we're parenting them. Remember, our job is to cast them in the right roles, draw forth their unique abilities, set limits, and T-I-M-E. I guarantee you, which you can go play baseball in the backyard. You can go play baseball at the local field. You can organize a pickup game. Now, I'm going to tell you this, for the dad out there that's saying, I've got an 8-year-old who lives, breathes, sleeps, and dreams baseball, and all he wants to do is baseball. Fine, that's great. Then go play baseball with them out in the backyard. Don't sign them up for a 92-game travel schedule. Go play baseball with him. Make baseball about your relationship with him and the time. L-O-V-E is spelled by kids, T-I-M-E, the time that you spend together. Kids don't get to decide the course Because if I asked most kids what they want to do, I'll tell you what they want to do after school. They want to not do homework. They want to not go to school in the first place. And if I ask them what they want for dinner, they want M&Ms and potato chips. That's what parenting is about. We don't let them do things that would hurt them. We discipline them to do their homework. We provide them with healthy meal options, not junk food. The same thing goes in baseball. You set the guidelines, you set the parameters, you set the limits. Cast your son in the right role. Know the odds. God makes the major leaguers. Okay? Doesn't mean we don't strive for excellence in all that we do, but understand what the odds are and what we're going for. You got a better chance of getting into Harvard, by the way. Parenting is to draw forth your unique ability. Draw forth your child's unique ability, your unique skills, their God-given abilities out of them, and give them the opportunities to express them. Number 3, value balancing. Watch when your values get out of whack when it comes to competition. Anytime you feel it, it probably is. Kids don't set the parameters, you do. Kids spell love T-I-M-E. The last thing I'll leave you this is the word irrelevant. Everything your son learns in the game of baseball, every skill he learns, all the talent he has, all the capability he has, all the God-given ability he has in the game of baseball will all one day become irrelevant. He will not be able to use his baseball skills. Nolan Ryan had the longest career in baseball, 27 years, and at 47 years old, he had no more use for his baseball skills. Most kids, their baseball skills will be over when they're 12. The next group will be over when they're 18, and then 22. 99.9% of all people, their baseball skills will be done by the time they're 22 years old. It's going to be what they learned and who they are along the way and who they become that is going to catapult them into success in life. Keep that in perspective, especially going back to value balancing. So I have rambled on too much. Share with me your story, please. Send it to 567pitcher, so 567pitcher at gmail. Share with me your stories. I love reading them. Every one of those emails I read and responded to personally. So it's not going into our customer service department. That's coming right to me. Give me some time because we do get a lot, but send it to 567pitcher at gmail. I want to hear your story. And thank you so much for listening.